everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today, we're getting into something that's old, but new, kind of old, kind of new, that we were kind of excited to go see. And that, my friends, is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
Don't say his name a third time, because he'll show up.
Willie.
But Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Mark, what is your origin story with the cultural phenomenon, I guess, of Beetlejuice?
I don't remember if I saw the movie first or the cartoon first. I think the funniness is there. And the more you watch it, the more you appreciate just Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton doesn't get enough credit for how hilarious he is.
Yeah, I want to say he started off as a stand-up comic, but I've heard he's like an underrated stand-up comedian. But yeah, I mean, the acting bug hit him and he was in demand. So why not make movies? It's more glorious, that's for sure.
I wonder if there's video of him being a stand-up, because I would watch that. I've got to think that that would be hilarious.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But fun fact, do you know what his actual name is?
No, is it Beetlejuice?
No, it is another Michael and another actor. And that's why the Screen Actors Guild would not allow him to use his actual name, because there was already a Michael Douglas. So his name is Michael Keaton Douglas.
Look at you coming with the deep trivia on the actors. Tell me something about Winona Ryder.
She once stole shit.
True. Look at you.
That's about all I know. That's all I know. But I found that really interesting because he said he was going to credit himself as Michael Keaton Douglas in his very next role. I think like a movie he's directing or something like that. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting headline and good for him.
Well,
Michael
since
Keaton
you're
Douglas.
adding headlines, let's not bury the headline. What about you? Your history with the character, the original, where are you at?
I don't think I saw the movie until well after it came out. I did watch the cartoon. It was like a after school staple. You know, there's not a whole lot for me to watch because I didn't have cable. So I'd watch Fox, the network, when I would get home. And it was like that, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons. Those were like the three major players for a lot of the cartoon viewing that I had for after school. But yeah, I like the cartoon. I thought that was interesting. And then I was like, oh, I'll check out the movie since I like the cartoon. Nothing like the cartoon.
Not at
Nothing at
all.
So I was a little surprised by that. But would you say that you're a fan of Beetlejuice as a property?
I would say as a property, yeah. I don't think I watch this movie like every year, but it's one that I speak of fondly. I think it's one of the most Tim Burton movies. And the original, like the heavy hitters in that movie from an acting perspective are so solid. And there's something about it that's just catchy the whole way through.
When you said Tim Burton of Tim Burton movies, like what is your definition of his style of a movie?
You get the claymation in it. You get the black and white colors. You get a lot of the odd modernism to building shapes, and you get some minimalistic looks at classic buildings, right? I thought the way that they updated the Dietz house in the first movie was quintessential Tim Burton. All of Dee Dee's sculptures, quintessential Tim Burton. Just like odd shapes that could come out and get you, and just a lot of practical effects that also are like odd in a way, like they kind of turn your head a little, but in a good way. Like I don't know, I enjoy Tim Burton. I think it's also a little macabre as well, which is a staple there. So I don't know, how would you describe Tim Burton?
There's one word that I thought you were going to go towards, but if I could sum it all up in one word, weird. It's just weird. Like a lot of the movies that he has are strange. And gut reaction when I first saw Edward Scissorhands, man, this is a weird ass movie. I liked it, but it's just weird. And then
Yes.
going back and watching Beetlejuice, I was like, yeah, I see a common theme here, and it's just weird.
Scissorhands is definitely um if you really take in the everything, it's like Stepford Wives meets I don't know what, like Knife Hand Man. It's
Oh, sure.
definitely odd. I enjoy when a director has a style and you like know what you're gonna get, and they grow a little bit. They do something a little different here or there, but they're fairly consistent. So like I'm gonna go see this Tim Burton movie. I know what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna go see a Tarantino movie. I know what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna go see a new Kevin Smith movie, and I know what I'm gonna get.
Uh, yeah, I don't disagree. I would say you're pretty spot on with that. When I say that it's weird, I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I just think of it as
Yeah.
or unconventional. It's okay to like weird stuff. I like a ton of stuff that's weird. I don't say that I dislike Tim Burton. I like his flair in a lot of things. Batman was the shit. And so the fact that Tim Burton could come in, bring in his style with like that type of comic book character was interesting. But it's very different. You were talking about Tim Burton's style. I don't think that style 100% comes through in Batman. Would you agree?
Well, I think that there's some balance in Batman. You get the noir esqueness, you get the gothness in Batman, you get the like real gritty pieces of it, but it's not a Tim Burton story per se. It's Tim Burton doing Batman. It probably is the most comic booky Batman that we have on screen because it's got some elements of the unreal to it, and just I think the oddness adds to the comic book esqueness of it.
Would you say more so than Joel Schumacher's?
Yes,
Like
because
the neon lights and shit?
Schumachers are too shiny and clean. Like some of those old Batman comics were just, it is what it is.
I'm actually a little bit curious as to what your plot is for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Lay it on us.
This one's hard. It's mentally ill mom ignores child, thus creating mental illness. Then dad dies, and they all go back to the place where the mental illness started.
I guess I just didn't see it as mental illness. I just thought of it as this person's weird and
I
some
mean,
weird shit
anytime you
happened to
see
them.
dead people, there's trauma, right?
Oh. I mean, she had a grand old time dancing on the ceiling at the end of the first movie. So I don't know.
I think the more that you grow in your own, like, I feel like her entry into society is the challenging part, right? Going from a loner to then, being harassed and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. She just seemed kind of like a shell of the assertive Lydia that we knew in the first movie.
It's because Big Pharma got a hold of her, got those prescription pills.
Those
That's why.
prescription
That'll
pills kept her from seeing dead people. It let her be quote unquote normal for a minute.
Yeah, that's where it is, right? That quote unquote normal. I don't know. Like I'm it's funny that you say that because it was like, oh, I never really thought of her as being mentally ill. I just thought she had a gift and she kind of chose to selectively use it. It's funny when you first said that this one is hard for the plot, I was like, oh, is it really? Because there's there's a lot going on, but at the
But
same time, it doesn't add to the plot.
there's very little plot to this movie. This movie is kind of what it needs to be. It is a nostalgic bring back of characters we enjoyed, and we can explore their world a little bit without much changing and without, big craziness. It lets us say goodbye to certain characters, hello to other ones. We just get Beetlejuice back for a little bit, and then we kind of figure out there are definitely some throw-in characters in this movie that I don't know why you needed to be here, but okay. And we did
So
get an extensive Beetlejuice origin story that I don't know we needed.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
once, it's a little too much origin story for me.
It's because it's in Spanish, right? You're just like, I don't
No,
like
it's not.
subtitles.
It's not due to the Spanish. It's just due to the did that fucking matter at all?
Well, let's talk through these plot points and see if it did matter, and we'll end up the episode with that pivotal question. So you got Lydia, which I thought was kind of clever. I thought that was like, oh, she's using it to capitalize, and I think that's kind of a little bit of a nod of like Burton saying that, like, yeah, this is kind of a cash grab right now, but hey, you're paying for it. You're sitting in those seats. That's kind of just how I took it as like if I was Tim Burton, I would make this beloved character a sellout and just like, hey, people, she wants to collect a paycheck and she wants to use her tools and her gifts on everything. So I just thought that was kind of like a nice big middle finger of like, ironic, isn't it? She's selling out, and here you are watching this movie. Essentially, I'm selling out because this is 30 some years later.
It just
A 40,
reminded
almost
me.
40.
It reminded me of Ghostbusters 2, where Venkman had a show for some reason, and it was the same production quality of trash.
I
Um,
knew that was somewhat familiar because I was like, why don't I like this aspect of the story? And I was like, oh, Ghostbusters 2. That's why.
oh man, that's great. That's amazing. Yeah, I thought it was funny. And now we know that she can see all dead people, that she is just dead people everywhere, except her late husband.
They started off early to where there's some mystery. You also have Catherine O'Hara, is that her name?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, the mom from Home Alone. She plays an eccentric woman to the nines. She's the best. She
she
really
is.
is so good. And just such a strange, like almost erratic but manageable personality where she's just so out there. She's just that artist, right?
I mean, if
She is Tim Burton, just manifested in a different way.
I don't know, she does so much. Like she was great in Schitt's Creek, playing a very similar character.
Surprise, surprise.
I think that she's done a good amount of the oh man, what's the name of the director? Um, the Getz movies, the Chris Getz movies, where they're like mockumentaries and she plays off the wall characters in all of them. She's been legit for years and is hilarious. Like one of the most underrated actors working. Just such a great non-lead but supporting actor that's been amazing. Speaking of supporting actors, not amazing ones, I was trying to figure out how they were going to get around the dad, who is Hollywood non grata anymore. He did bad things, and he is no longer. I thought it was hilarious that they decided that he got eaten by a shark while bird watching, which
So,
was a throwback to the original Beetlejuice, because he had the thing in the bird watching book that he found in the one room he wouldn't let him touch.
yeah, so I was okay with that. And I was like, oh, this is a funny way for this to happen. But they hold him in such high regard, the character in this movie. And they still have his likeness in the claymation, where I was like, huh, that's strange that they're even mentioning this. And then they show his tombstone with his picture. This is a little too much FaceTime for a sexual predator. I don't know. Maybe was that just me?
Yeah. I think that he was such a big part of the original movie that I'm assuming his likeness is part of his original contract or something. Like, I don't see them paying him for this. Like, I see them just kind of doing the thing. But I thought it was important to bring in her parents because she was a parent. So the reflective thing is funny. And you got to see his journey through the underworld. Like, what a great way to slap the guy in the face is to not really use his face a lot and integrate him like, oh, we'll just use claymation. It's fine. It's fine. He's not going to come anywhere near this set, but the character will, just not. the actor.
I guess that could have just been played a different way where like I think I would have been fine if they never showed his face. Like if it was just, yep, got bit by a shark and that was it. Like every scene or callback to him, it's like the back of his head or something like that. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just the dad in me now is just like, fuck that guy. That guy's a piece of shit.
Mm.
Never show his face. It doesn't matter. Separate the art or what he did in real life. No, like that's him. Don't show his face. I feel like that's more of an easy play for this instead of like receiving some complaint letters from people like me that say like get his fucking face off of there. I don't
That
know.
didn't bother me that much. I don't. He wasn't in the movie. He was just mentioned. He was an also ran in the movie. There were other things that Martha'd me about this movie.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, let's continue on.
do you want to talk about the unnecessary character in this?
You mean the best intro to a character? Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
please tell me about the best intro to a character.
Best intro to a character where she's just a crazy ass bitch and she assembles herself. Fantastic. Tim Burton absolutely like nailed it with that particular scene. And the actress, Monica Bellucci, who has been around forever, always been kind of like that sex symbol in every role that she's in, even at the young age, but Hollywood perceived age of being older, still killing it and still slaying it, as the kids would say nowadays. That
Slaying
was
it,
an
as the kids
awesome
would
little
say.
montage.
It would be awesome if there was any use for her character at all.
Yeah, but that was the best intro.
The stapling herself together part.
Loved it. Loved it.
Okay.
You know, Tim Burton style? That's Tim Burton style right there. Weird shit, putting yourself together and still making it fit in that particular scene. Now, afterwards, jack shit to do with the plot, absolutely pointless, which
Yeah.
made that scene absolutely useless. But it wasn't useless for me because that was one of the very few scenes that I was like, oh, I really like the creativity here.
Yeah. I just it doesn't make sense why like if you die you just go to the to wait in whatever astral plane that is. How did she get boxed up? Did just Beetlejuice box her up before
It doesn't
crates were
matter.
invented? Like
Doesn't matter.
it kind of
A lot of the
does.
stuff in this movie doesn't matter.
How does she know what a staple gun is? She's from the Dark Ages.
Hmm?
Never seen a staple gun. She was in boxes.
That's your problem with it?
So many things. There was no value to it as a character through the whole movie. What did she do that was good? She killed Blueberry Danny DeVito, which was probably one of my favorite characters, who I thought for a second was going to be Jimmy Buffett.
You thought his character was Jimmy
When he was
Buffett?
turned around, but I'm just thinking like, did they put Jimmy Buffett in it? Because he's dead. The dead, but it was Danny DeVito, which I was totally okay with. Gotta love some Danny DeVito.
And he's alive. So
He
yeah.
is. But
I at no point did I ever think Jimmy Buffett was making it into this movie.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It was just a thought. Um, what, you don't think Tim Burton seemed like a parrot head to you?
He did put a sexual predator in the movie for the most part. Maybe you would put him in a dead guy, a legitimate dead
I
guy.
mean, it's not putting past him. But yeah, I had there was no like plot point to that character for me at least. Like
Okay.
because they did the double. So they introduced Jenna Ortega into this movie, which is like new Lydia, essentially, right? The young and rebellious, gothy, kind of tree hugging, whatever. It's fine. They had the young protagonist, and the nostalgic protagonist, and Michael Keaton, and then each one of them had their own like bad guy, if you will, right? Uh, um, they gave Lydia the gold digging dude. They gave Michael Keaton his random chopped up wife, and then they gave Jenna Ortega the dead guy that she falls in love with. And there's like three different like circumstances coming together that don't really like it doesn't mesh very well. It just didn't like it didn't drive anywhere near any of the other Burton movies that I've seen there. I just wasn't a fan of this like three trying to keep up with all of it kind of thing. I don't know. Um, all of the all of the Easter eggs in there, big fan of, love it. But it was just I'm like, why? Why the extra layers? I don't get it.
Well, let's talk about those extra layers. You got Jenna Ortega as Astrid, so she's able to see spirits. Her dad is dead, hasn't been able. She's pissed at
She
Lydia.
doesn't know she's able to see spirits at the beginning of the movie, though.
Right. Well, I'm just saying what she does in the
Like
movie.
eventually,
So
we find out because she gets fucked over by a dead guy.
she's basically pissed at her mom for not being able to talk to her dad. Right? That's what I'm getting
I
from this movie.
Yeah, for not just for I think she's pissed at her mom for mourning unhealthily and distancing herself and pouring herself into work and then being taken advantage of by this guy she met on her grief retreat whose sole purpose was to take advantage of her. So you've got to think that their disconnection happened after he was lost in the Amazon and apparently eaten by piranhas that kept eating him, which was annoying as fuck in scenes with him.
Maybe he was out there with Dakota Johnson's mother
Mhm.
while she was researching spiders in the Amazon.
Could have been.
That could have
I
been a better
wonder.
twist.
I, I didn't grab that well, to me at least. You seem to not be bothered by it. You seem to want the Amazon explorers to be in every movie that we review.
Oh no, I have a huge problem with it. Everything that you're
Oh,
saying, I am amped up to another degree.
oh,
But yeah, I will say that Monica Bellucci is the character was awesome. What they did with it, awful. Absolutely awful. No point whatsoever. Could have probably axed her character. Probably would have had better stakes with
was that a
just the
pun?
kid as the murderer.
Was that a pun? They could have
Hey,
axed her character.
I play it how I see it, and some days I'm feeling really good and froggy, so must be one of those days. Then you have Astrid's little dead boyfriend, Jeremy Fraser, which that actor was also in Wednesday with Jen Ortega, so it's kind of cool to be able to see, familiar actors and similar roles. But I I don't care about the kid, and you kind of knew something was up. That's like, okay, well, wait, why are you gonna just fall in love with this boy, this dead boy, who everything is good? Like, that's not gonna happen. I saw it a mile away,
Yeah,
and
it was weird.
it was just pointless. Pointless. They needed to pick which, because you said, like, oh, they've got everyone has their own bad guy. You don't need to have that many bad guys. You don't even need to have the side quests for two out of the three characters. Who are we really trying to build upon? Are we trying to go back to the nostalgia well? Because if that's the case, stick with Winona Ryder as Lydia and Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Stick with that, and that's it. But it's like, oh, we gotta need to introduce the younger audience, and so you have Jenna Ortega, and then you have another adventure. Like, no, 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 no. And then you have the mom doing stupid shit. And
I
then she
don't
just
mind
gets
the
herself
mom.
killed.
The mom is fine with me.
Pointless story. Pointless story because she has to go find her husband in the fucking netherworld or
But
whatever.
the
Dumb.
Vipers thing, the asps thing was so that was the most character aligned thing in the whole movie. It
That
was
she
the
just wanted to
most
save some money.
no that she had to be dramatic and make a show of it even for no one. And she had asps because it meant something and it was so important. Like, that was the only character I feel like they treated with exceptional reverence in this movie. And they did everything in her plot line aligned to her. Like,
Because she's the only one that can act.
not wrong. Not wrong. Well, I mean, Michael Keaton can act. He did the thing that we wanted him to do.
I don't know.
His character in the original movie, like, wasn't a plot driver. It was
Right.
anarchy and just like, hey, look at me. I did a thing. Like, that was the whole point.
But this movie's turned out to be just a whole bunch of running gags.
But
And
I'm okay with that,
it fell
though.
flat.
Beetlejuice, the original movie, was a bunch of running gags. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't this thing. They didn't resolve it at the end. They just all kind of lived together and they danced. Like, that was it. There was no resolution to the original Beetlejuice.
Yeah. So what do you do in the sequel? You just put a whole bunch more shit in there and not resolve anything.
You just do the same thing, but just not as good, essentially, is what you do. Um,
Ah, man.
I've got to say that there's certain parts of this I enjoyed, right? The callback to the shrunken head guys that were more prevalent in the cartoon than in the actual movie. I loved that all the shrunken head guys were there. There's no way Beetlejuice actually had a job with the in that situation. Like, that made no sense based on the original movie, but I love that they brought the Bob and the other shrunken head guys into it. Like, that was awesome. The soul sucking thing made no sense to me. Like, does this line up with anything anybody's ever talked about? No, no, we just decided to make a breathe in cool practical effect thing. Like, the practical effect was the reason that they did this. Tim Burton's like, how can we deflate somebody like a balloon regularly? And you know what? You just got to kind of accept it because that's what Tim Burton does. He does practical weird shit. And I'm okay with it. I'm like actually on board with it
Okay.
because that's what I know I'm going to see. I'm going to see a Tim Burton movie that there's going to be parts of it that I don't understand, that don't make sense to me, but are visually at least stimulating in some capacity and nostalgic because it's not CGI. It is this weird claymation, othermation practicalness that, let's go. It's cool.
What did you think about the plot point of them not being able to see the dad?
I didn't get it. Like, they're both mediums and able to see all of the dead people. Did they talk about why they couldn't see him?
No. The only thing that I think you kind of have to assume, like, oh no, I was working down here at the DMV, the hell
Yeah.
DMV, and I couldn't see you. I haven't been on break for 50 years. Like
Well, he
that's the
said he
only
looked
thing.
in on them. Like, you couldn't hear the incessant chewing. What's up, man?
Yeah,
That guy
I
can't
don't know.
sneak anywhere.
There's so many. I can't even say that it's plot holes because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to the overall arcing plot because there is no point. There's no point to this movie. Let's
Oh
be
no, but
clear.
you know what the point is? The point is for individual things to be kind of hilarious. Like, if you break out just Catherine O'Hara's character, she's individually hilarious. If
Sure.
you break out Willem Dafoe's character, it's kind of hilarious
Oh, it's great.
that would be like, that was funny, right? And if you break out just Beetlejuice, also kind of hilarious. Now, if you do all of them together, then you're really trying to think about something. And that's a no. There are certain characters in this movie that I don't ever want to see again. I wish they would have killed, like the Rory guy, like her, Winona Ryder's dude. That guy was useless.
A lot of these characters were useless though.
Yeah, yeah.
You have this movie that's a beloved property by many. And then you want to do something more with it. Let's throw the it girl that's in right now, Jenna Ortega. So she's like a perfect person to replace Lydia, or at least mimic what Lydia was like.
Right.
But it doesn't work because they're not the same. And Lydia now is just not the same type of person as she used to be. So even that nostalgia for that character is kind of gone. She's not the spunky kid. She's just like this really tired parent. It doesn't fall where we want it to for the nostalgia characters, with the exception of the mom or the grandma. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I can think of. Like, she was a bright spot. Monica Bellucci's intro scene was great, and Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, sure, you have him doing his thing, but
Yeah.
that's almost like by default. Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying, oh, this is great because of Michael Keaton. Like, no, it's not. Michael Keaton's just being Michael Keaton, as it should be for that character.
Right. I'm okay with that. The other thing that I mean, I also feel when they were writing this, they're like, I wonder what kind of weird shit we could do. And I feel like the third act of this movie was built around how weird we could make it. Can we pick the weirdest song ever and make it make sense in the context of this movie? There's got to be a musical scene in Beetlejuice, right? There has to be, because it was such a huge, awesome part of the first movie. If you go back and watch that first movie, which I did before I went and saw this one, the Harry Belafonte scenes in that movie are amazing. Like, they're
Why
part
are
of
they
the,
amazing, in your opinion?
they're so just, so that song in general, right? It doesn't never, it lacks the ability to not make you smile, right? Like, I always find that song kind of upbeat and positive. And then they juxtaposition it into this dark gothic situation, and all of these really serious people just start singing Deo. It works for me. I don't know why. It's such an iconic scene that they're like, okay, let's redo this, but let's not pick kind of a fun song. Let's pick something weird as shit in MacArthur Park, which, for the record, I'm aware of MacArthur Park as a song because of, like, the band history, and like the Stan Kenton version and the Maynard Ferguson version of like the instrumental portion of it. The lyrics couldn't remember because I remember the Weird Al version, which was Jurassic Park. Shout out to Weird Al, friend of the podcast. I wish, versus the actual MacArthur Park version, MacArthur Park, which I knew was about somebody leaving a cake out in the rain. I never thought somebody would try and contextually do that in a movie. And also, I never thought it would be Beetlejuice, right? I feel like somebody got really stoned and was going through an old record collection, like, yo, if you're going to do this, you got to fuck with people and use the weirdest old song there is, MacArthur Park. Nobody could make a movie about MacArthur Park. And Tim Burton's like, hold my weird scissory hand. Here we go.
That scene, does it work? Yes. It goes on way too fucking long.
But so does the song MacArthur Park. It's a funny, if you think about it in the context and you put yourself in the director's shoes, you're just like, I just want to fuck with people. I'm gonna play fucking MacArthur Park on just the whole song, and make everything that happens in the song happen on the screen, to this song that nobody in the last 20 years has heard. We're bringing it back. We're bringing back MacArthur Park. I don't know. I don't know if Tim Burton had like some weird shit happen to him while MacArthur Park was playing or something,
Yeah,
but
so someone touched him
like
while
just
MacArthur
just
Park was
like
playing.
just like this deep rooted, oh, I'm just MacArthur Park trauma I've been able to let go now in Beetlejuice. But to that scene was so obnoxious and weird, um, that I kind of loved it, but also the OG Beetlejuice fan in me was like, If only it was a more upbeat song. Like that was my own. That was the part that I was just like, this isn't. No, this isn't Harry Belafonte. You can't dance to MacArthur Park.
I loved when they used the Bee Gees tragedy. That was awesome.
It was.
It was great, great scene. I just have a problem with all of the theatrics. That's what was the problem for me in this movie. It was a turn on the faucet, and then after 2 hours, turn it off. Then the jokes and all the stuff will stop coming at you because it really was just like nonstop, and it was almost like watching an episode of Family Guy. And so like there's always some type of joke, and you kind of wait for the moment for it to laugh. When it came to the Richard Marx song, I think that was one of the very few scenes that I was like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it
And
was.
then it kept going. And it wasn't even that long. I'm just like, all right, yeah, okay, we can end this now. I felt that way after every song, after a lot of the scenes of the movie. It was just like, we probably could have made this shorter.
I don't know, the Deo scene with where they used it as the funeral song for the dead with the choir was so tight to me. I was like,
Oh
yeah,
God.
here we go. Give me the member berries. Let's completely use nostalgia to make me love this movie.
I would be fine if they would have just stopped after like one line of the song. It's like, okay, nice little touch. But that scene made it weird for me because it's like, wait a second, we're really eulogizing, even though it's a character, it's still his face on there. It's like, this guy's a piece of shit. I wonder what other people are gonna think. Like, I don't even like this right now. And I'm not even a concerned party in this whole thing. I don't give a shit about that guy. But at the same time, I was like, fuck, this is stupid. Like, why even put his face? Why put his likeness there? Let's just erase him from everything.
I mean, they killed him off. What more do you want?
Still used his face and animation and a picture. Ugh, get rid of it. Get rid of it. People have been digitally removed from movies for just the accusation of something similar like that. So think about that. Think about this is a dude that actually did some shady shit, and they're still using his likeness after the fact that he was charged with all that stuff. I don't know. Kind of backwards, fucked up.
You're really angry about this.
It's it doesn't make sense to me. Why can we digitally remove someone or even just like yank someone from consideration of a movie on alleged things and yet use the likeness, use a picture of someone who has been booked for those exact things? It's in poor taste, in my opinion.
I'm sorry that that Martha'd you so much.
I'm sorry that you support a sex offender.
I don't
So that yeah,
support. I enjoy that they killed him, and they just kind of went about it. You know, I think it was more in service of the mom's character than anything else that you had all of this stuff go on.
I don't buy that. If it's for the service of the mom's character, his face doesn't need to be shown at all.
Yeah,
But
I don't know what to say about that.
but let's talk about like the whole spirit world altogether. So Willem Dafoe, fucking great. Just like every other role that he's in, he always is going to give 100%, and you're always going to get Willem Dafoe. So I love the fact that he was just hamming it up as like the police detective. You know, he was like, well, actually, I'm an actor. It's just funny.
Yeah, I think that that was a fun ad, but it was completely unnecessary, but better than any of the other ads that they did. Better than adding Monica Bellucci's character or really digging into Justin Theroux's character.
Yeah.
I thought that I thought that Willem Dafoe was better. I didn't mind the Jeremy Fraser character because I thought it was a cool way that she discovers that she has that power, and like it gave them the only villain that they needed. The only
Yeah.
villain that they needed was the one, like they could have done without the rest.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? You're rewriting it to where it's like, oh, but this is a good character. But it wasn't like there was him. You had the whole subplot with the mom and the dad. Then you have Monica Bellucci's character, Dolores. Then you have Willem Dafoe's character who's going after Beetlejuice, which who cares if someone's going after Beetlejuice? It doesn't really matter. He lives in the underworld anyways. And it was just kind of all over the place. Just too many side quests. It was like Final Fantasy had a baby in a movie, and it was Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
I think that if you just remove every scene with Monica Bellucci, this movie is tighter, way tighter.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. Of course, you could say that if you remove her, if you remove the whole dad dying thing,
But that's
if
at least
you rem
that serves something. That I didn't mind. The Monica Bellucci thing like went nowhere. We needed to know how old Beetlejuice was or where he came from. You didn't. You're fine. You're aware of what he did. Like, why do I need to know how Beetlejuice died?
but why not keep the good scenes and the actual story for those people that'll matter? I think Monica Bellucci could have been a way better villain, in quotes, than the kid. And that shit was just like resolved like that. No problem.
But where were you going to put Monica Bellucci? What was she going to do? Go after Lydia?
Kill everybody. Suck all their souls. That's all you need. Do you need something intricate from that? Because I sure as shit did not get that from the kid or Willem Dafoe's character. Or with Tim Burton trying to be very practical with his effects and everything. And if he that's his style that he likes to do that way, he could probably stick it with a very basic plot point or protagonist and antagonist, not multiple.
I guess I don't care about, which is odd for me to say I don't care about the Beetlejuice backstory or the Monica Bellucci thing because it doesn't serve the point, which is to bring back, revisit, and move forward the characters that were originally part of it and add in the daughter.
I don't
Build out,
disagree with that.
it just would have made the movie smoother without the six different things. You dial down to Justin Theroux a little bit, but even that is still okay as a way to push the daughter away to go find the murdery dead guy. The soul sucking part, I guess, hits me the same way as like in The Force Awakens or in The Last Jedi, where Carrie Fisher decides she's gonna fly. Never mentioned, not part of the cartoon, not part of the movie, the soul sucking thing. Magically now, though, they're soul sucking. Not the book. Nowhere in the book is it there, but we just added it. We added an appendix after all these years that made the witches a thing when really it was the undead people that were a thing, but we're just doing it now. But it doesn't really serve anything in a big way. So, like, does Beetlejuice need an ex-wife? No. No.
I think the reason why I'm looking at it the way I am is because if you want to keep something, you want to keep the more interesting character and the more likely of a Burton type of exploration in the movie, which is Dolores, Monica Bellucci's character. Do we care about a little kid that killed his parents? No. And is it as funny or as dramatic? No. I understand where you're coming from. I
Yeah.
just don't think that the kid brought that much to the movie. Her character definitely did a whole lot more. It just didn't pan out that way because it
It didn't
wasn't
amount
the way
to
it was written.
anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Neither did the
No.
kid. Neither the kid didn't amount to anything. He got it signed and stamped and everything, and then it
The
was just like, oh, sorry, you're going to hell, and then
well, the
that's it.
kid
Problem
was
solved.
the kid tricking the girl to go to the whatever it is, land of the dead or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it,
who cares?
was the catalyst for Lydia to bring back Beetlejuice to go after the daughter.
Make it about Monica Bellucci's character.
Was Monica Bellucci like abduct the child that she has no reason to abduct. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, but it would
You
make more
could
sense
flip it
than
and have her
keeping all of it
abduct.
together.
Well, you could, if you want to rewrite it, you could flip to where Monica Bellucci abducts Lydia, and then Astrid has to do the Beetlejuice thing and get together with Beetlejuice and go into that plane. And then you still get Willem Dafoe following Beetlejuice. You still get the mom and dad action. It still all works, and you can eliminate the dead kid. You can
Yeah, that's what
eliminate
I'm
him
saying.
entirely, but you just got to pick one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been saying this entire
And we just
time.
want two different movies. I love
Yeah,
that about it.
well, you want
That's so
you don't
us.
you don't think Monica Bellucci is like a Tim Burton character. I think she's like the perfect Tim Burton character. That kid, not the perfect Tim Burton character. Great Stranger Things character, or hell, a great Wednesday character, which he was essentially the same thing as in Wednesday. So, yeah, I don't know, man. This movie has a lot of ornamentals, and I was expecting that, but not when it came to the plot. I didn't expect it to be like, oh my gosh, why are there so many things involved in this plot that really don't mean anything? You could scrap it, you could do some flippy spinnies, something, but you don't need all these plot points and all these characters in the movie.
I don't disagree. But there is one thing we've got to talk about with this movie before I ask you a very important question. And it's my favorite thing to talk to you about with movies: the music. It
I
took a minute to get the OG Beetlejuice music, but they brought the Danny Elfman back. It sounds like you enjoyed the popular music in this movie.
so it didn't take a minute. It like opened up with the Tim Burton music, didn't it?
I thought it took a minute, but either way,
Well,
the Danny Elfman music was there. It was in the
yeah,
good places. We're happy with it. But
it's
there was
great.
also all this other stuff.
The other songs were fine. I thought it could have scaled back way more, and then I wouldn't have hated it. Like not that I hated it, but I'm just like, once again, we're making a music video. And I felt that way about the original Beetlejuice. Like this is just a little too much. But I felt like they really dialed this one to 11. The scenes were longer, the music clips were
Like
longer,
3 times as longer.
the characters are more abundant, the plot and intricate storyline definitely more abundant there. Like it's just too much. The songs are fine. I'm not loving it, but the one thing that I really liked was the Monica Bellucci Bee Gees song and the utilization of that. That was great. That was fantastic. And I thought that that was a creative way to get some retro type music into the scene. And it worked. It worked for me. MacArthur Park, just too long. It's just too damn long.
But they left the cake out in the rain, Dan.
I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they left it inside, baking in an oven. Don't matter. It's just too damn long. Too
It's
damn
too
long.
long.
What about you? What did you think about the music?
I like all the popular music in this. The bad thing is, like I said, I watched the original Beetlejuice, and I know they teased Deo during the opening of the movie, and then they used it in a big way. And as soon as you heard MacArthur Park at the beginning of this, I'm like, they're not gonna fucking put MacArthur Park in this movie, are they? And then they
I
fucking
don't
did.
even really know the song. So
Like I said, I know the song because of the Weird Al version of the song, which is hilarious and very much revolves around Jurassic Park. It is quality. I celebrate Weird Al's entire catalog. Maybe wish it was in this. He liked claymation, and I think that video had just as much claymation as this Tim Burton movie. But
I probably would have liked it too.
I would have. You could just go find it. There's videos of it, dude. I'm sure.
Looks like we only have one other thing to talk about, and that is the answer to this question. Mark, when it comes to Beetlejuice, can you do this all day?
I'm gonna say nah. I'm gonna say no. And the reason it's no is because while I'm sure I'll watch it again. I'm sure at some point I'll be like, oh, we'll do a Beetlejuice thing, but in general, it's not hitting the rotation. It was not in every scene like this is perfect kind of thing. Um, it just didn't hit all the notes for me. Love that they did it. Happy it exists. It could have been much worse. All in all, not upset with the movie. Just doesn't hit that high standard of can do this all day. I'm scared to ask you because the last few times I've said no, you've had a different answer. So, Dan, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, can you do this all day?
This was one of the very first few movies that I've ever left a theater and told my wife, I fucking hated that movie. That was my gut reaction to it. I just was not having a good time. I did not appreciate the multiple stories and plot points and characters. I didn't like the fact that it was just too damn long for a majority of the scenes that I was watching. So when you throw that on top of the music that was okay, but lasted too long, the plot that was pointless for a lot of the different characters, the nostalgia is great, but guess what? Didn't care that much for the first Beetlejuice either. It was fine, but I'm not a big Beetlejuice fan. If anything, I was disappointed going from the cartoon to the movie because I was like, well, wait, this doesn't seem all that fun. This just seems weird. So that was my little kid goggles on. But now being a full adult, it's, well, wait, why was there so much story and all this bullshit when none of it mattered?
Oh, that's great.
That's where I'm at now.
You're not
So
wrong.
no, cannot do this all day.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because yeah, it was rough. It was rough for a little bit there. If you want nostalgia, this could be it. If you want tight storytelling, move along.
Yeah, I will say, if you're a Beetlejuice fan, you'll probably like the movie.
Yeah.
But if you're like me, you're gonna be like, yeah, the first one was just fine. This one was a lot. Take your vitamins and throw a few more on there because that's what this movie was. Just a lot of vitamins, and you didn't need them all.
So many vitamins.
But that wraps up another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That is Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Don't forget, tell us how we're wrong. Tell us how we're right. Hit us on the socials. I Can Do This All Day podcast at everything. Like, subscribe, download. Only 5-star review, please. Reviews, please. Tell them how there are never any mistakes on this podcast. And we're just tight to the point, never argue, and really support your opinion every single time.